Shaq, let me start with you today. And first, there's sort of what we've learned today in court. But there's also this Fifth Amendment issue having to do with one of the witnesses that both sides would like to see testify. If we could have updates on both of those developments, if we could.
Yeah, let's start with what we just heard and the testimony that we just heard. And I think it's clear right now that the prosecution is really focused on proving this use of force issue. They are arguing, and we heard it from the Lieutenant Zimmerman, the most senior ranking officer in the police department, to yesterday with the police chief, and now we're hearing from the direct trainers. They are trying to lay out that Derek Chauvin's use of force was not appropriate, that it was in conflict with the training received by Minneapolis Police Department officers. That's, of course, important because they're arguing the use of force resulted in the death of George Floyd. So that is what the focus is on right now. And you heard from this trainer that we were just talking to, the lieutenant, or just hearing from, you heard the different perspectives that both sides were coming at this from. You heard the prosecution saying that the neck restraint that was used wasn't completely in compliance with training, and that it was the amount of time that Derek Chauvin had his knee on the neck or on the back area of George Floyd. You heard the defense come back and say, well, neck restraints are part of the training, and there's certain other factors that officers need to consider. And you keep hearing them mention the bystanders, for example. So you're getting a little hint of the arguments that are at play. Of course, both sides are just presenting witnesses right now and just questioning witnesses, but there will come a point when arguments will be had. And one tease that we know of is that the defense will argue that the use of force that Derek Chauvin used was in compliance with training material and training photos, specifically the positioning of that knee in the back area. So you're getting a hint of that right now. As far as that motion that we had earlier this morning, that was the first thing that happened before the judge brought the jury in. Essentially, this is a witness that the defense has signaled they want to bring. It's the passenger who was in the car of George Floyd's vehicle when the police interaction first was initiated. It's the person who the girlfriend of George Floyd testified provided them drugs at one point. Well, you had Mr. Hall, Maurice Hall, that's his name. His attorney came and said, hey, if he is called to the stand, he's going to plead his Fifth Amendment or use his Fifth Amendment protections because he can self-implicate himself in doing this. He can say, and the concern is later on in the process, he will expose himself to a potential third-degree murder charge because he provided drugs to George Floyd if later, in some later prosecution, prosecutors decide to go after him with third-degree murder. So that gets a little bit complex, but the judge pretty much said, you're going to have to give me the questions you plan to ask, Mr. Hall. We're going to debate that later on, and we'll address that at a later time, Chuck.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.